Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am back for another Slim Sports interview. And as always, I'm your host, Jay Slim. And joining me today, if you're familiar with the show, if you're familiar with the brand, you know his name well because he is the original Slim Sports interview. Talking about a 6'8" forward that just year two in the pros overseas, the one and only DeAndre Pinckney. What's going on, Big Dre?
What's going on, Slim? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Excited to have you on once again. Had you on twice in college, once during your rookie year last year. Now getting you on after year two has come and gone, and you had a whole lot more success, whole lot more numbers that you put up. And I want newcomers to the brand, fans, viewers that aren't familiar with your name yet, to get familiar with it real quick and the accolades that go along with it in a quick segment that I like to call Rewind and Recap, where I'm going to rewind the clock just back 2023, your last year of college, where you helped lead Southern Miss to a historic season and a Sun Belt regular season championship. Just before you ended up going on to the pros, ended up going to Denmark, playing for the Bacon Bears, and you got voted as the Eurobasket forward and player of the year in that league, and ended up winning not one but two championships in Denmark with the Bears during your rookie season, and was Finals MVP for that ENBL championship. So a lot of awards, a lot of championships, a lot of bling to your resume just off the bat. And obviously, a lot of rookies, they go into their careers and they don't have that kind of success right away. It takes a while for them to really find their stride to be able to do what you were able to do right off the bat in year one. What does that mean to you to be able to start your career off so strong? And what was the confidence level heading into year two?
I definitely feel like it was a blessing, being able to go into something like that my first year, my rookie year, after coming off a great season my senior year. And just being able to share the knowledge and the things that I learned during that year with my fellow friends, other guys, because it's like I've been a part of winning teams. I know what it takes to win. I know what it's like. And being able to share it with my guys and give them confidence because they see that I'm doing it and a whole bunch of my friends, like we grew up together, they see where I come from and everything. So they like, okay, if Drake can do it, then I know I can do it. I have dudes that text me all the time, like all my friends, like, man, you motivation for us. Keep going. You just don't know, like us seeing you be successful, what it does for us eternally, and it's just a great feeling. And going into year two, man, the confidence was like really, really high. Like I was extremely, ready because I wanted to prove myself again after year one, but unfortunately, it was just, a tough situation in France to start just some things that was out of my control.
Yeah, and this past season, you still put up some great numbers, 13 points per game, six rebounds, an assist and a half while shooting well over 50% from the field once again. You've always had that efficiency to your game, and you had some great individual performances throughout the season, 23 points and 11 rebounds in late April. Had a game 29 points and 11 rebounds in late March, and the next game after that one, you came back with another 21 points and 14 rebounds. So really able to continue the production on the court that you've been known for doing. Going into your rookie season, I remember we talked about this last time I had you on. Obviously, you're trying to prove yourself at the professional ranks. You're trying to learn what it's like to be a professional athlete altogether. Now that you had that experience under your belt from your rookie year, what made that easier going into year two to where you were able to kind of adapt to, being with a whole new team in a new country a lot easier than the first time around?
Well, I would say because my first year I played with a lot of older guys, so I played with three of the top 10 top scorers in FIBA Euro Cup all time. Three of them were my vets. One of my other vets on that team just won again there, and I was about to be the head coach of that team. And so, I had like good guidance from older basketball players, guys who's played in the G League, who's played in 10 plus countries and played 10 plus years. Ryan Evans, Darko Ukic, Skylar Ballin, Michelle Doof, all guys that who names are well known across, Europe. And so being around those guys, learning from them, and just always asking questions, being a sponge. Ryan was one of the main ones who will always share knowledge with me and my guy Leek, who's playing in Germany. He just always tell us like just be mindful. Always make sure you're a good person because you don't want nobody to have nothing bad to say about you. Yeah, I would say like my vets really, really helped me out a lot last year, just sharing knowledge and things like that. And I soaked all that up and kept it in my head for when I was going into the next year.
There you go. Already speaking like a veteran, somebody that knows what it takes to be at this level. And obviously, you've shown that time and time again. And I remember last time we talked about, you moving up in the ranks as far as, competition level, going to these different leagues. And I know overseas it's talked about where, some leagues are better than others, kind of like, moving up from the G League to the NBA type of thing.
Mhm.
You got to compete in the Israel Winter League is what Eurobasket calls referred it to. And you played for a team called Hapoel Haifa, where you were able to right away come in, be a starter for them throughout most of the season after that short stint in France, which we'll get into that change here in a bit. But what was that league like in Israel for you to compete at, and how did it compare to the league you were in during your rookie season?
The Winter League, I feel like it's a high-paced league. It's a lot of Americans. Patrick Beverly's in that league. Jonathan Motley, Antonio Blakely, Levi Randolph, Ish Smith. Like we got a lot of some guys that play some of the best European players and guys that play in the NBA. So it's like even Chris Silva that played with the Miami Heat. So that league is a very high pace. And the way I played basketball growing up down in South Florida and in college, it was high pace. And so going there and being able to adjust right away because my it was my style of play. I think that really helped me as it compared to where I was somewhere in France where it wasn't so much of a high pace. It was a high pace from time to time, but a lot of teams wanted to play run set offense and things like that. But even to go back to last year when I was in Denmark, my team played a high paced game. The Denmark league, it was a league for like rookies and older guys. So it was like vets and rookies in the league. But a lot of teams played the high paced basketball. Sometimes it was a lot of high scoring games, but then there were also games where, it was very, very low scoring and it's possession by possession. So, the Winter League is definitely one of the top leagues overseas, is well respected. And it's definitely shoot. You see, Hapoel Tel Aviv just won Euro Cup. So that's a team that was in my league, guys. I'm matching up against, playing against, during the year, getting a good run. So the league is definitely well respected. It's a good league. I feel like for Americans who like to get up and down, press, run in transition, shoot, play like that, I feel like that's the league that you should definitely look into getting into.
There you go, man. And obviously, you got to do your thing throughout the season. You had a whole lot of highlights to go along with the season. And I want to talk about some of them specifically in an awesome segment that you're going to love that I like to call Make That Play, where I went through Synergy. I looked through all your made baskets, all the high level plays that you had throughout this season. And believe me, there were a lot of them. I was there for a while going through all the plays. But I managed to put together what I feel like were your top three plays from this past season. But obviously, you know me. I'm just a stats guy. I'm the guy. I'm the fan in the stands. Cheering you on. What would you say, as that professional athlete on the court doing what you do, was your best play from this past season?
The best play from this season, I would definitely have to say the self lob in game against who did we play? I think we were playing Curitada. Yeah. Self lob off the backboard to myself. Best play right there.
That one was good, and I am showing that off when I do show off the highlights. But that one, believe it or not, wasn't in my top three. I believe I had that at 4 or 5 because I know you did that twice
Ooh.
this season, the self lobs. But the number one that I had, just because you were able to track this ball in the air so well, was the one-handed alley-oop slam against Galil Elyon, where you hit a nice little pick and roll, went up, found the ball, your point guard put it up there, and it looked like it was a little off at first, but you ended up getting the ball right in your hand and boom, right on top of your opponent. And
Yeah. For
that
the
was
lob from Matt Coleman.
Yes, sir. Former Texas Longhorn, ended up playing in the G League, phenomenal point guard. And that was one of the incredible slams that you had this year. Number two was a one-handed putback jam that you had off of a missed layup that where you just went up and you had defenders all around you going up for the rebound, and you just see your hand come up through all of the bodies and boom, right on top of all of them. That wasn't the only time you did that because you did that in another game going against Hapoel Afula, where your teammate had a very tough contested layup that ended up coming right off the rim, and you went up once again for another big time slam with another two defenders on top of your back. So you were just used to that grind. You were used to going against the competition. And no matter what, you found a way to score for your team. And you ended up battling through adversity time and time again throughout this past season. Obviously, the year for Haifa did not go the way you guys wanted it to, but you yourself, you started off in France uh, and then made your way to Israel because you ended up leaving that team, obviously. What was that experience like for you changing teams, during this season? You think you're going to be here in France for the whole year, ended up leaving, I believe, after 6 or 7 games, somewhere around there, and then
Mhm.
made your way to Israel and had to learn a whole new system, get used to a whole new team. What was that experience like for you?
It was definitely difficult because the last week before I left, like I kind of really didn't play basketball. So while other teams were like playing games and practicing, like I kind of wasn't. And then, having to travel for a whole day, 24 hours to another country, and then get there and then have to practice the next morning. And it's like have to learn their plays. But pretty much I feel like the offensive end, learning their offensive plays was just like the most challenging. It wasn't like that much challenging, but it was the most challenging part because defense is pretty much the same played everywhere across Europe. You hard hedge, quick show, switch, or you play drop. So those are the defensive formations that a lot of teams, the pick and roll coverages that a lot of teams play. They just have different names for it. So now it's just about calling it the right thing. Some teams may call 52 their switch, but somewhere else it may be called 11. So it's just about learning, you know, what's the names and the way that they play it. Some teams play their drop a different way than another team. So it's just small little details, that just changes how different teams run things. But, the fact that basketball is pretty much played the same everywhere, it kind of helps being able to adjust to different systems. Now when it comes to the offensive end, of course, it's just learning, relearning, a whole playbook, but you just got to do it over and over. And when I got there, my coaches, my team, everybody, we went over the plays 3 4 times every day until I got it. So I felt like when you're doing things like that, learning a new offense after coming from a different offense, it's good to learn 2 3 plays at one time. If you're trying to remember 5 6 plays all at one time, me personally, I don't think you can. But if you take 2 3 plays and you rep those 2 3 plays until you get it, boom, then you go to the next 2 3, and it kind of helps with that. But yeah, it was definitely a little challenging, but in the end, I think I made it work because once I got there, I left Thursday. I got there Friday late night, well, Thursday late night, and we had a game on Sunday. And I played in the game and had to only like remember like 1 or 2 plays and something like that. But one thing I realized is that all of the actions and stuff like that is all come down to a top ball screen or a side ball screen. That's essentially what the play breaks down to.
There you go. You have that high level IQ, and obviously they knew that they were getting that in you when they brought you into their system. And obviously that team overall on the season, 4-28 overall record, not exactly where they wanted to be at. They had struggles individually as well, of course, but bringing you in somebody that has this high level of winning experience. Obviously, you were the Finals MVP in that ENBL championship, like I mentioned before. You averaged 17 points per game as a rookie. You averaged double figures once again as a second year player for this team. How would you say that despite the rough season overall for this team, you found ways to use that winning mentality, that championship experience to still help out your team throughout the year?
So for 2 months, December, before Christmas, and then after Valentine's Day, until after Valentine's Day, during that whole time, I didn't play. Like my team was playing games. The coach, I had to sit out because we had 5 Americans and only 4 could play. And so during those 2 months, I just locked in on myself. I worked out twice as hard, went to the gym. I changed my eating habits, changed my body and everything. And my coach ended up getting fired in March, and I got a new coach. And that coach gave me a chance. And so once he gave me a chance, I was already prepared because those 2 months when I wasn't playing, I was working on myself, working on my mental health, working on being sharp and being prepared because again, I felt like I had a point to prove because I decided to, mentally lock in and be ready. I was ready when I got that chance. And the moment that I got that chance, it took 1, 2 games for me to, get that game speed, get back in game speed. And after that, it was up after that. I scored 20 points, had a lot of double figure games after that. I had to prove myself. And when it was all said and done, you know, all the coaches in the league respected me in the end because they say, how does a guy not play for 2.5 months? His team loses every game, and he still finds a way to come out of that once you start playing and play at an extremely high rate.
Hmm.
And that's is what is helping me going into this third year, with some of the opportunities that I'm getting here.
Yeah, and that actually leads me perfectly into my last question here. Obviously the team as a whole had their struggles, but you yourself, like you just mentioned, you showed that you can will your team to win, and that's something that I feel like is very unique with certain players, and that shows the players that are going to last a long time in the professional ranks being able to have that winning ability to where they can just kind of will their teams to the playoffs, to a championship. And obviously, you've shown that time and time again. You've shown that with the numbers that you've been putting up. Obviously, missing those 2 months, like you said, coming back and having a 29.11 rebound double double in late March, 21 points and 14 rebounds the game after that one. What is, how does that impact your free agency when it comes to finding the next spot to continue to move up in the ranks and continue your career at a higher level?
Well, so I have my one of my European agents. He's helping. He's in the Israel market. So like all of the teams knew everything that my team was dealing with, with financial issues, the team, like they knew everything that was going on. So them knowing that and then them seeing the way that I'm performing is like, okay, well, what happens if he's in a better situation, how much even more and better that he can be. So, kind of using that to my advantage and, just teams knowing like I had to finish the year averaging a decent amount because before I started playing, I was averaging around 8 points. And, I talked to my American agent and he was just like, the way your numbers are set up right now, going into next year, you're going to make less than what you made this year. But if you can get it up, then, you can make more than you made. So at this point, it's like I have 2 months left. Basketball is all I got. So I'm using that as fuel and motivation to go out there every single game and give it my all and kill because I know right now I have 2 months to play for the next contract. Nobody didn't know who I was or what I was capable of before, but it's like now I have to prove myself and I'm playing for my next contract. So just, every dealing, remembering and, thinking about all the stuff that I dealt with between France and Israel when I wasn't playing motivated me to go be, an absolute beast on the court. And it worked out in the end for me. I finished averaging around 13 and a half, and I'm getting some pretty good offers right now. Have some options in Italy, Greece, the VTB in Russia, and of course, a lot of teams in Israel, want me to come back and play for them. But just right now, a lot of teams are also finishing up in Turkey. They're still playing, and France, they're still playing as well. So just kind of waiting here over the next couple of weeks to see what other options I'm going to have.
There you go, man. Definitely can't wait to see where you end up at and being able to have you on. This is the fourth time I believe that we've done an interview and, getting to see your career blossom and grow from the time where you you went from JUCO to Southern Miss, and then obviously now playing pros. You guys went against FSW. That was the first ever game that I statted for FSW, and I remember watching you play, and I think you had a one-handed putback jam in that game as well. So you've been doing it since your junior college days for sure. And
Yeah.
guys like yourself that have been underrated, that have been underscouted. I'm always trying
Hmm.
to find ways to get guys like yourself on to where you can get your names out there even more, and I can, promote you guys however I can in the best light possible. And that's why I came up with this segment that I like to call Who's Up Next, where you can actually give me some names of people that are playing overseas that aren't being talked about enough, maybe guys that you know that are still playing college ball or in the G League, wherever, that I can have on the podcast and get them to tell their stories. There is one rule though. Whoever you recommend, I do need your help getting them on. And I know you do that very well. You've done that a lot in the past. So who would you say is next up on the Slim Sports podcast?
Definitely need to get Victor Hart. Victor Hart, 6'8", JUCO guy, went to Southern Miss and played in Finland, Luxembourg, and averaged like 20 points, like video game numbers, just absolute dog. Uh, Tyler Stevenson is another good guy. Romania, 6'8" guy, forward. Donovan Ivory, played in Romania, 6'7" wing, 40-inch vertical. Austin Crowley, all these guys, my former teammates, all these guys, I'm watching them kill their first year playing overseas. So these are the guys who are, up next, guys that are low key, and once they really get their feet wet in Europe, gonna definitely make a lot of money playing on some good teams and gonna be household names down the line in the future.
Oh, absolutely. I had AC on last year after his last year with Southern Miss. He's a phenomenal player. Victor Hart, I've seen since his days in Miami-Dade. And I know the Ivory and Stevenson, they were some dogs with Southern Miss as well, just like yourself. So definitely going to be reaching out to them to get them on. And that's a great segment of who's up next. And now we got to talk about what's next for yourself. How are you really attacking this off season to go into year three, get back to winning championships, back to being an MVP? And continue to help your teams find ways to win.
So I just finished my little vacation run and just started back working out yesterday. So now working out twice a day and heading into July, going to be in Vegas, working out at Impact 3 times a day. And it's just like I know how last year went, so this summer I'm going to go twice as hard, you know, eat even better foods, take care of my body even more, just go even a little bit harder every single day and every single chance that I step on the court and I'm in a weight room because I know how last year went and I know how I want year three to go. So I'm using my second year as motivation, and fuel is everything I need for this summer going into year three.
There you go, man. And if I know DeAndre Pinckney, another championship is coming up here soon because all you do is win. That song, all I do is win no matter what, that's about you. I'm pretty sure it's about your career. So uh, just keep on going, man. I'm beyond proud of you, beyond excited for you. You've been doing this with me since, like I said, you were the original Slim Sports interview back when I was doing it on Instagram Live. And now, 4 years later, we're doing
Yeah,
segments. We're talking about a whole lot more, and we're getting to see your career blossom before our eyes, man. So keep doing your thing. Beyond proud of you, and best of luck to you next season.
man, Slim, I appreciate you having me and keep doing you, keep being a great guy. I wish nothing but blessings for you and everything you want to do in your life.